Hello, this is Thomas O. Mills. I'd like to thank Gerald for his painting called Red Moon, which shows how a Native American envisions an eclipse. The sun with the earth and the moon in their delicate balance and in perfect alignment needed to create this event. Gerald has a website called fourthworlddesign.com. That's all one word, Fourth World Design, where he explains his work and sells prints for a very reasonable price. He's very good. In fact, NASA was so impressed with his work, they sent one of his paintings called Earth Bundle into space on the Space Shuttle Endeavour back in 1994. In this short video, I'm going to use the knowledge I learned from my Hopi friends to explain Stonehenge and what vision we might all have when we see an eclipse, when the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon all line up. Let's start with that outer circle. There are 30 large stones in the outer circle with a diameter of 100.8 feet and a radius of 50.4 feet. I believe the builders of Stonehenge knew how the Earth traveled through space, moving 1 degree every 72 years in what we call the precession of the equinox. 72 years times 30 large stones equals 2,160 years. If you divide 360 degrees of a circle by the 30 large stones, it would equal 12 divisions or ages, just like the 12 constellations. This would mean that each large stone would have a value of 864 years. And this could be the reason they use 2 different kinds of stones, large granite stones and then the small blue stones. There are 60 small blue stones in the second circle with a diameter of 79.2 feet and a radius of 39.6 feet. This is very important, as the diameter of the Earth is 7,920 miles and our radius is 3,960 miles. So if you reduce the size of the Earth by 100 times, it would fit exactly into Stonehenge's second circle perfectly. 72 years times 60 blue stones would equal 4,320 years, or 2 ages. If you subtract the radius of the small blue stone circle from the radius of the large stone circle, 50.4 minus the 39.6, it would equal 10.8, or 10.8 times 100, which would equal the radius of the moon, 1,080 miles, and it would fit exactly between those 2 circles. I don't think this happened by chance. Someone in the past wanted us to know this information. The third circle in Stonehenge has 10 large stones. We know each stone represents 864 years. 10 large stones times 864 years equals 8,640, or 4 ages of 2,160. The fourth circle at Stonehenge has 19 small blue stones. We know that each stone represents 432 years, but one of those stones is a stela stone that is usually used to mark the equinox. The pyramid complex in Egypt with the Sphinx and the pyramids in Mexico all have stela stones in front of them. And the pyramid in China probably has a stela stone, but we know very little about them. At sunrise, the day of the equinox, the light of the sun would split that stela stone into 2 pieces or create 20 stones when the Earth was in perfect balance, half night and half daylight. If this is correct, then that would give us 20 small blue stones times 432 years, which would equal, again, 8,640. 8,640,000 miles is the diameter of the sun. There are also 86,400 seconds in a 24-hour day. The distance Earth travels at the equator in 1 second is 1,000 cubits. 86,400,000 cubits equals the circumference of the Earth. This is what Stonehenge would look like at the time of the equinox if it was lined up with true east. The distance halfway between the solstices and the equinox is very important to the Hopi. They use these 2 events to give them 2 more reference points to check Earth's delicate balance in space. Their most important ceremonies are held on the winter and summer solstices. The problem with Stonehenge is that the stela stone does not line up with true east. Look at the directional markers on these illustrations. Stonehenge does not line up with east or the North Pole at the present time. The location of east implied by Stonehenge suggests that the North Pole was located exactly where Charles Hapgood, in his book Path of the Pole, concluded that the North Pole was located 11,000 years before Christ. One stone in the outer circle of Stonehenge does line up with the winter solstice purely by chance, and that is what people celebrate at Stonehenge at the present time. Stonehenge looks very similar to a large underground kiva called Casa Riconda, located in Chaco Canyon in northwest New Mexico. The site is located very close to Fajaja Butte, where the equinox, the solstices, and the 18.6 yearly moon cycles are chiseled into stone for everyone to see. And today they all line up with the cardinal directions and the moon cycles. Here's an aerial photograph of the site, and I compare it to the Hopi rattle that is used in almost every Hopi ceremony. Frank Waters, in his book of the Hopi, states, "The flat round face of the rattle represents the earth. The circle inside symbolizes the sun, whose radiating rays give it warmth and life. The swastika symbol may show clockwise rotation with the sun, or counterclockwise to indicate the earth. The stick thrust through the gourd symbolizes the north-south axis of the earth, at whose ends sit the hero twins, our polar ice caps, who keep the planet rotating. This marking shows on the side, the marking shown on the side represents the constellations in the Milky Way. Both twins constantly send out echoing vibrations along the Earth's axis. These constitute the real source of the noise of the rattle, which re-echoes their vibration as either a signal or a warning. So let's compare the Hopi rattle with the kiva and to Stonehenge. Everyone's happy that nothing happened in 2012, but I believe an event took place around the year 2000, or 12 years earlier, that we should all know about. In 2016, NASA reported that in the year 2000, the Earth stopped drifting to the west and started drifting off to the east at twice that speed. The report was called NASA Solves Two Mysteries About Wobbling Earth. This was our first wobble. Rather than blame this event on our melting polar ice caps, they determined that it was caused by loss of water in the Caspian Sea in Eurasia. The drift is only a small amount of 7 inches or so, but if I were a betting man, I would think that if we do nothing to correct the problem, the Earth will stop moving in that new direction and start moving in the opposite direction at twice that speed fairly soon, just like a top when it starts to slow down. NASA didn't report the last wobble for 16 years. When will they let us know about the next one? 7 inches doesn't sound like much until you consider that the speed of the Earth was measured in seconds at the equator and in half seconds at the base of the Great Pyramid. The moon is drifting away from us at 1 inch per year, so in 25,920 years it would be 2,160 feet further away from Earth than at the beginning of the last cycle. The moon's diameter just happens to be 2,160 miles. If you try to look up how the moon was created, you'll find that no one really knows how it was created or how it got in that perfect position. My Hopi friends tell me that the Creator placed it there to put the planets in general motion and to correct Earth's balance and wobble before he populated the Earth. After he did this, 2 twin ice caps formed on the north and south poles. The moon's diameter is exactly 400 times smaller than the sun, and the moon is 1/400th the distance between the Earth and the sun. The Hopis believe this is the fourth world or time. Maybe the questions we should be asking are, do the other moons rotate precisely at the speed of their planets so that only one face is always facing the planet like our moon does? Are other moons located where they cast a shadow the exact size of the planet so as to create a total eclipse? Could this be the reason why so many past civilizations found the need to build stone circles around the Earth? The distance from the sun to the Earth is roughly 108 times the diameter of the sun. The distance from the moon to the Earth is roughly 108 times the diameter of the moon. And the diameter of the sun is roughly 108 times the diameter of the Earth. This is pretty coincidental. If we go back and look at Gerald's painting, Red Moon, you see that the face of the sun has two small circles on each side, just like Stonehenge has two small circles called the North Barrow and South Barrow. The Earth is cradled and balanced between the sun's arm and the center, with humans, birds, clouds, stone circles, rain, corn, kivas, waves of water, turtles, and fish on it. If the sun had hands, he would be holding the red moon in perfect orbit to support the Earth. The red moon would be located on the outer circle of Earth and dissected by the outer circle of the sun, just like it is dissected at Stonehenge. The Stonehenge, the Hopi, and the sun and the moon. At Chaco Canyon, the 18.6 yearly moon cycles are indicated by ancient buildings 35 miles apart. I would imagine that if you turned Earth until Stonehenge lined up with today's equinox, these same moon cycles would be apparent around the same distance from Stonehenge. Eclipses may also be indicated around the site. The builders of Stonehenge gave us the diameter of the sun, the Earth, and the moon, and also the distance between the sun, the Earth, and the moon. They left us a message of how much time each stone represents and showed us where east was located at the time of the construction. How will we keep the correct distance between the sun and the Earth and the moon? Perhaps that is the message from Stonehenge. Do we have the knowledge and ability to put the moon back in its proper orbit? Would this speed up Earth's orbit, cool the polar ice caps, and correct our weather patterns? How much time do we have left before we move into the next new age? And the next new age is coming in 2100 or 80 years from now. It's in our human hands. The next video I'm going to do is about interpreting the murals of Egypt. I think everyone should be able to read them by now, so I'm going to try to do my next one on that subject. Thank you very much.